Welcome to day 231 of TFIF 365. And today, two things in contemporary media are examples that I want to talk through when it comes to a coalition of the wounded. So I don't know how long this is going to go. It is what it is. So the one thing I want to talk about, there's two things that I saw. One was yesterday and one was today. And I'll talk about the today one first. And it was a video that I just saw of a young black man saying that most people are too lazy to be in relationship with a healed person. And I was like, oh shit. And that's what I talk to you about constantly, about what supremacy-free, coercion-free, discrimination-free, and exploitation-free requires. It requires you to do the work of introspection. It requires you to do the work of self-accountability. It requires you to do the work of self-healing. It requires you to do the work of self-discovering and amplifying your value. You cannot do this work impactfully. You cannot do this work and prioritize minimizing harm. You cannot do this work and prioritize the most vulnerable if you have not looked at your own shit and how you contribute to the harm that's already out there. Because we're all been indoctrinated in the same systems, institutions, and policies designed to privilege the few at the expense of the many. So we have our own internalized white supremacy. We have our own internalized anti-blackness. We have our own internalized homophobia. We have our own internalized transphobia. We have our own internalized discrimination against the poor, against the disabled. We have all this shit, and we might not want to talk about it. We might not want to be honest about it, but we have our own ideas and about how things should be and our role in it and where we sit in the hierarchy of all those things. And when he said that, that is why the reason so many women now, and I'm going to say just particularly black women, because that's who I sisterhood with, have chosen our sisterhood, our friendships over relationships. It's not that we don't like men. We all talk about masturbation and all kinds of stuff. So it's not about we have no sexual desires, or we don't want to be partner with people. But what we've known is, or what we're discovering, particularly if you're 45, 50, definitely if you're 60s, that we have to take care of ourselves. And at this point in our lives, we're starting to self-reflect. We're starting to figure out what systems, institutions, and policies, what roles, what things were labeled on us, what roles were we forced into that we no longer want to be a part of. We start doing all that examination, right? And because black women are often at the bottom of the value pole, the humanity pole. I don't give a damn if you're in the LGBTQ plus A plus community, if you're disabled, if you're a woman, if whatever. If you're black and a woman, you're at the bottom, right? And so it's at that point we start self-evaluating, and we find that the people in our lives have not done the same thing. Particularly this generation. I can't speak for how much baby boomers when black women have done this self-reflecting, but I can tell you, Gen X, we've been so low for so long that we've just decided, fuck it, if we're going to be so low, we got to do this shit on our own, we're going to do it our way. Because I remember being between 18, definitely before 30, and deciding this shit ain't working for me, whatever the fuck this is. But I just didn't understand so much of the intentionally hidden systems, institutions, and policies that were at play that kept me in that cycle. It took me literally being on social media, seeing different perspectives, and seeing some alignment to make me start connecting the dots. So that's another reason why when people talk about social media is, oh, everybody needs to fuck you. I learned so much on social media just looking at other people's shit. That this is the best social science education economics education, political education, legal education, medical education that I could have ever paid for. So no. And so when he said that, it was like, that is so true, because when you are dealing with people who've not done this work, your little bitty effort, your mediocre effort, your unremarkable effort means something to people. You opening the door, you pulling out the chair, that's romance. That, to me, that's what all this romance stuff is. I don't need you to bring me flowers. I need you to respect my agency, my liberty. I don't need you to whisk me off or buy me this expensive thing. I don't need a diamond ring or jewelry or cars. Those things are nice and I can get them for myself. What I need is to be in partnership with someone who sees our value as equal, and we're in this together, because we also know that there are going to be challenges, and how are we going to together get overcome those challenges? All right? How are we going to together navigate a world in ways that we model supremacy-free, coercion-free, discrimination-free, and exploitation-free, if you have not done the self-work, if you have not healed? So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And the second one was, I don't watch reality shows. I am a social scientist at my heart. So I am a person who is interested in genuine, authentic relationships and encounters and how that works. And so much about reality shows is contrived. It's manipulated. It's a whole bunch of things. But yesterday I saw some clips in my timeline of the Braxtons. And I'm not going to get into who they are. You can go look that up if you don't know who it is. But it goes to when I'm talking about a coalition of the wounded. When I talk about family's the first place we learn to call abuse love. And all abuse is not something you can see, right? And the context of this was one of the Braxton sisters died. And so they were seeing a grief counselor. She died 2 years ago, I believe. And they were getting grief counseling. And what I was seeing was there was a lot there that grief exacerbated. But that grief counseling is not going to deal with if these women aren't going to just dive into doing the work I just said about that self-reflecting, that self-accountability, that trying to figure out, again, putting space between your triggers and your response. You're triggered by something, you stop and say, why is this triggering me? Does this bring something up in the past? What is the thought behind it? Why am I feeling this way? All of these things before you fucking respond to things, because a lot of, and this is just my personal story, because I'm here modeling it. When I do that, I recognize that a lot of it is from childhood shit. A lot of it is from people telling me I was inappropriate. And what I learned in response to that was to fight harder, to be bolder, to be louder, because fuck you. And I was like this at 2. So I had a fuck you attitude at 2 years old. Like, leave me the fuck alone. And so I'm looking at this and I see so much pain. And the mother is there and there are 4 sisters remaining. And just the interplay between them, there's so much that is rooted in that family dynamic, that they're grieving their sister who transitioned. It's like the volcano finally explodes, right? Because no one was dealing with, okay, we're seeing the temperatures rising on this thing. This volcano is about to blow. Instead of just like, okay, maybe setting up our household on an active volcano wasn't the smartest thing. So let's move and put it somewhere else where we can all thrive, and not have to deal with the volcano, right? And so I'm just seeing since I've come up with the framing of the coalition of the wounded, I'm just seeing so many, just in 24 hours on social media, where this applies. And again, I find it so interesting that that wording came to me in the context of our political climate. So until tomorrow, peace. Become a sustaining sponsor at kimcreighton.com/support-the-work and help make this work happen.